Welcome. These set of notes will cover using an IDE debugger tool. We are doing this within CodeBlocks, and the three important features that we will examine are number one, step into and step over, also known as next line. Number two, setting a breakpoint and running to that particular point in the program using the Run to Cursor option. And the third option we'll examine is using a watch window so that we can see the value of a variable stored in memory. To get started with CodeBlocksDebugger, click on the Debug menu at the top and select Step Into. This is the first feature that we will examine. So a couple of things have happened. The program has started running. It has not executed this cout line yet, but it's ready to do so. Hence we see the yellow arrow on that line. Here is my running console window. So we see that the program has started to execute, but it has not started executing the line of code for the cout. Now, one thing to note here, execution always starts at the beginning of main. On line 18 through line 20, we see declaration statements. There is no code to execute with the declaration. Behind the scenes, the compiler will allocate storage space for these variables, but in terms of execution, the debugger is going to just go past them. Our first executable line is the cout statement that spans lines 23 and 24, and that's why we see the arrow stopped there. Up above here, we now have a debug menu with a set of tools and icons. If I rest my cursor on this particular icon, this is the Step Into icon, and click on it, we will execute line 23-24. I'll bring the output window back up, and sure enough, we see that that line has executed, and we're now ready to execute line 27. I'll go ahead and execute line 27, and then line 28. And now notice what happened. I executed line 27 and 28, and all of the icons have been grayed out for the debugger. There's nothing wrong. It's just that the program has executed to a point where it's waiting for user input. So in order to continue, we have to provide input for that cin statement. So I will say the number of rides taken was 24. When I hit enter, we should see the icons become available again. And sure enough, they are. We can step into or step over. This time I'm going to step over. This is also called next line. This will execute the line of code and move to the following line. So here we see the prompt to enter the number of referrals made. Line 30 is a cin, so if I step into this, it is going to suspend. I'll step over it or go to next line. It suspends, waiting for our input. I will say 6 referrals were made. And now we are on the process section, line 33, the assignment of discount to rides and referrals. I'm going to go ahead and just continue to run this program till it's finished. And my output window also closed. That demonstrated step into and step over, also known as next line. The next thing we want to look at is setting a breakpoint and using the Run to Cursor. On the debug menu, we're going to set a breakpoint. This will stop the program at a particular point. Here at line 36, 37, where we're displaying the discount. So I selected that line, and now on the debug pull down, I will select toggle breakpoint. Now a toggle is an on-off switch, and because there is no breakpoint set yet, by toggling, it will turn on the breakpoint. We see the red bubble. This indicates that we have a breakpoint at this line in the code, and if we just go ahead and run this to cursor, it will execute all the way to that line and then suspend, waiting for us to give it more instructions. So let's do that. On the debug pull down, I'm going to select Run to Cursor. The program executes. It's waiting for input. Let's say we took 12 rides and made 3 referrals. And we see that our breakpoint has stopped right there at line 37 before displaying discount. This is useful when you have a larger program and you've pretty much decided that you know where the problem probably is. So you can set a breakpoint and then run to that point and start inspecting what is going on. Now, one way to inspect is to use a watch window. 2 ways we can implement that. We can do that with the debug pull down menu, or we can use the little icon right here that allows us to open up a watch window. So I'm going to select that. And you can move this around. This is a pretty good place, I think, over on the right side of the screen. In the watch window, we will see all the available variables with their current values displayed. We can see that there are 12 rides, 3 referrals, and the discount is 15. Many debuggers will allow you to, in the watch window, change the value of a variable. However, CodeBlocks doesn't let us do that. This can be very useful when you want to force your program code down particular paths in the logic. To recap, 3 incredibly useful tools are the step into and step over. We can use this to see what is going on in a program step by step. It's also helpful when you're trying to figure out how a program works. The second is to use the breakpoint with Run to Cursor. We can turn off the breakpoint with the toggle on the debug pull down, or just clicking on it turns it off. And we can select a watch window from the debug pull down, debugging windows, watches, or using the little icon here for debugging windows. Happy C++ coding!